Level 1. Ecology. Home stones. Ecology, home stones, a name. That sounds like it belongs to a furniture brand or a niche interior design company. But trust me, there's nothing cozy about this account. Instead of home decor, Tipsit serves up one of the strangest and most stomach-churning args on Instagram and Tik. At first glance, the account looks like a surreal marketing campaign for some theater-related product. But the more you scroll through the account, the stranger, and sometimes downright nauseating, it becomes. The account mostly features a character called Robert in its videos and posts. Robert, according to his lore, shared by the creator, is a piece of flesh, fleshed out from one of the 8 carrot farmers that were hunted. The more you fall down into the rabbit hole, the more you realize how deep this particular lore goes. According to the creators, Robert and his fellow carrot farmers, who are all named Robert, were hunted by a gnome called Cheap Steak. Cheap Steak left all the farmers mutilated badly, but still somehow sentient. The creators have gradually introduced other farmers onto the account as well. The protagonist, Robert, however, is this hand-like piece of mud with a lot of personality. The visuals and the audio Quay and Ecology Home Stones videos are a surreal fever dream. The characters they feature are downright disturbing and straight out of a 9's horror movie. The way its creators map out the ARG makes it all the more bizarre, but also highly creative with how much they focus us on sound ecology. Home Stones creators call the entire project a musical band. Their art is a strange blend of weird, funny, unique, and disturbing. And they know that you could say that they were weird for the sake of being. So the way they display their art is highly comprehensive and tends to capture all human sensations. You can't watch their videos without sound, and neither can you listen to their music without the videos. It's a complete experience that needs to be felt the way it is intended. Jade is in town. Aaron is an Ella-based ARG that was made popular during the lockdown. The main character of that ARG documented her entire life through an Instagram account known as Jade is in Town. The account initially posted strange art and paintings that Jade claimed to have done as a result of heartbreak from a messy breakup. The account works as a face for the ARG. That much is obvious, but the posts in it become increasingly disturbing and may come off as a demonic experience for those who are not aware of its status as an ARG. Frankly, the Niter story comes off as a bit strange. The main character, Jade, is an artist who has recently started living alone as a result of a separation from her girlfriend. Robin Jade is not used to living alone and copes with the isolation by posting updates on Instagram. Most of her pictures on the account have been taken in her attic, which alludes to the sentimentality she attaches to it. Apparently, Robin has left there some of her belongings, including paint, all of which is in the attic. Gradually, Jade starts to use Robin's leftover paints to make her own art, which naturally doesn't translate well to her followers in most pictures. She posts, "There is something out of place." Eventually, her posts and an extension, her own personality, become all sorts of unhinged. She starts putting up weird videos of herself, either crying or begging her followers for help. Eventually, we see her take a step further and post possession videos during those. Her eyes become ghostly white, and she looks at the camera and laughs in a demented way while the entire thing ends on a high note. The posts still on the account are downright horrific. After all, the ARG does identify itself as horror. Realizing it is fake does not really ease the nerves, because of how real the entire thing feels. It transforms doom, scrolling into an active, spine-tingling adventure that may end with a happy ending, but leaves all sorts of marks on people who have been invested in it since the beginning. ACAAKY. We've been focusing on accounts that blatantly show something is off, but ACAAKY's Instagram is different on the surface. It paints a picture of the perfect influencer life. But beneath all the pretending, she's someone who holds a plethora of very concerning allegations against her. Acacia started out on Tumblr before moving to bigger platforms like Instagram and YouTube. Despite being a seasoned influencer, fans seemed to notice that there had always been something off about her content. At first glance, her account seemed like a typical aesthetic one with soft pastels, relationship advice, and motherhood updates. But as time went on, people started noticing the cracks. A few years into having her first child, A2AA faced allegations of neglect. Most of them were particularly targeted towards her younger daughter, who had a medical condition that required constant care in spite of how much her child needed. Her A continued posting as if everything was fine, according to her allegations. She was known for placing them in situations they shouldn't have been in at their age. People also accused her of prioritizing her own image over their well-being. One user claims that after a medical scare involving her second daughter, HIE ended up in the hospital where doctors found the child to be severely underweight, way below healthy levels. This immediately raised red flags for everyone when people called AOA out on it. Her only response was to stop posting her children on her account, but the issues with her account didn't stop there. A was also repeatedly accused of mistreating, neglecting her pets. They started because of how she'd get all sorts of animals to take care of, but they'd mysteriously disappear without a heads up. Her fans noticed a pattern. In her posts, she'd introduce her new pet for engagement, then quietly stop mentioning it. A Log Together reports surfaced that she was blatantly neglectful toward them and did not care about their needs at all. One of the most infamous incidents involved her cat Cotton in a 2016 vlog. A and her husband, Jayas, left Cotton alone for a few days while they went on a trip. They left the cat enough food and water for her to feed on in their absence. But naturally, this is not how pets should be treated when they returned. The food was covered in ants, making it obvious that Cotton had gone without proper nourishment the entire time. This wasn't an isolated case. Either over the years, people called her out for the way she treated her pets, but she never truly addressed the backlash. Despite all of this, AA's Instagram remained carefully curated, making it easy for casual followers to miss the darker side of her content. Eventually, after years of criticism, she stepped away from social media, rebranding her life offline, but even if it doesn't have much content that needs calling out, her past is still on the internet for everyone to know about Instagram Confessions account. Instagram Confessions account became a trend a few years back and started as a harmless way for people to either confess their love for people or share secrets anonymously. However, anonymity on the internet is not always the most wholesome, nor is it the safest. What started off as a safe space for people to channel their emotions and feelings became increasingly disturbing, since everything can be misused. Instagram confession accounts became the source of not only borderline criminal confessions but also dark mediums of cyberbullying and mental harm. The scariest detail of an anonymous confession account is the fact that no claim on it can be verified whatsoever. So anyone can literally say anything about another person and not face any repercussions for it, lie or truth in a school setting. This becomes especially dangerous because of rumor-induced bullying. Some of these accounts have the strangest confessions posted on them. They can range from blatant disregard for peers to actual attempted and successful murder confessions. The entire ordeal is a blur between harmless fun and irreversible damage to personal and societal security. A confession you should be worried about is why you haven't subscribed yet. Hit that button. And let's continue Sunshine Academy. While ARGs may be fake, almost everything associated with them feels weird and cult-like. The way they pull people in so deeply only adds to the eerie factor, thankfulness. Nothing can change the fact that they're still fiction and can never be harmful in the grand scheme of things. Unfortunately, that cannot be said about all online spaces. Sunshine Academy is a fake online school that basically doubles as a cult for young people. At first glance, the account simply feels like a compilation of edgy memes and questionable humor. But the more one digs in, the more unnatural. These posts become Sunshine Academy isn't explicitly listed as an ARG on any of their multiple accounts and YouTube channels, so no one can really know for certain if this online community is satire fiction or, God forbid, real. So what is it really? For a lack of better words to describe it, the entire account is a virtual school that claims to make perfect students. But unlike many actual online schools, this one does not have any academic backing. Only fictional lore. What Sunshine Academy claims is that it takes nuclear radiation and uses that to enhance its students' learning abilities. They believe soaking in said radiation would turn their followers into something called hybrids, beings that physically resemble animals, but are otherwise perfect specimens. Frankly, the entire thing screams inside joke or cult. The videos they post on their channel are realist, possibly AI-generated content backed up with the most bizarre dialogue in the form of actual voice acting. The more one peruses through the account, the more unhinged it becomes. But it's not only the content posted in it that's weird. It's the followers' comments that back up not only the video, but the entire academy. Most of them praise the Sunshine Academy for turning them into the perfect versions of themselves. Others ask them questions about their enrollments and express their excitement to join in. There's a big chance the entire thing is a thought-out virtual joke. But with how extensively edited the pictures and videos on the account are, there's also a pretty massive possibility that it's something more sinister. Level 2, Sabrina Miller, 230. Sabrina Miller 230 is an Instagram account belonging to an alien from outer space who has supposedly taken human form and now lives among us. The account, which is almost certainly an ARG, checks all the usual boxes, except it's also deeply unsettling and has managed to give a good chunk of its followers actual nightmares. The account basically chronicles the story of Sabrina, an alien who is trying to exist among humans without, eating them. Which is kind of a struggle, considering she and her family are to survive on meat, despite its occasionally humorous tone. There's just something about this account that doesn't sit right with people. Obviously, Sabrina isn't a real person. Even in her picture, she looks more like a doll-like entity, and the more you focus on her, the more unnerving she becomes. Her lore, her actions, and frankly, her entire face don't scream civilized being as much as they scream deeply disturbing fever. Dream she's trying to fit in, but humans apparently show way too many emotions for her liking. On top of that, she's also trying to cut down on her organic diet, which, by the way, consists of human flesh. The pictures Sabrina posts range from normal travel memories to these weirdly contorted selfies that look off. Most of the comments on her posts are from people playing along, but even then there's just something deeply uncanny about it all. Currently, Sabrina is on a quest to replace meat with B and is someone. Also trying to run for president. Julio Charles Jones, professionally known as Julio, was a rapper from Jacksonville who was in a gang-related attack last year in Tampa. He was a well-known artist, equally notorious for his involvement in gang activities, naturally being an artist. Jones had a significant online presence with over 1 million followers on Instagram. While we've seen people doxing others, we rarely witness someone essentially doxing themselves. On his 26th birthday, Jones openly posted the location of his celebration on Instagram and was tragically shot. Moments later, the entire incident was captured on CCTV and officially confirmed as a gang-related attack. However, what made it even more eerie was how, despite his almost instantaneous death, many fans refused to believe it. And to be fair, it wasn't entirely their fault after news of his shooting spread like wildfire. Julio's Instagram naturally went completely inactive, but just a week after his death, someone posted an extremely provocative interview of him in it. Julio is seen saying, "I'll never die. I'm a demigod. We need to do this again next year." Yeah, that's love, bro. I'm gonna be here for sure. I ain't going to know. I'm a demigod, man. Can't get me. Where did you get the demigod thing from? Cradle's on Real. Play a lot of games and a lot of movies. Stranger Things, they be saying that as too. See our demigod. They can't get me as expected. This sparked major speculation. Some fans genuinely believed he was still alive and simply messing with those who targeted him. Others found the post incredibly insensitive and felt it should be taken down. Ultimately, his death was confirmed by the police, and fans had to accept the grim reality. His shooters were caught 6 months after the attack and are now facing trias for his Instagram. Well, it's still just as active as it was when he was alive, most likely being managed by someone from his media team, Jolie Kalin. Given how extreme certain internet policies are, it's honestly a surprise that the Instagram profile Lauren Daniel is still up. The account belongs to a man known as Lauren Bunner, who is now incarcerated for the murder of his ex-girlfriend, Jolie Kalin. Jolie was a young woman from Alabama who'd recently graduated. She'd been in a relationship with Lauren for a long time, but eventually broke up with him because of his awful behavior. He was controlling, obsessive, jealous of her success, and just generally a terrible human being. Reports even claim he wouldn't let Jolie meet her friends or enjoy her life eventually. And understandably, Jolie had enough. She broke up with Lauren, which kickstarted the horrific of events that led to her murder. Lauren, completely inconsolable, became unhinged and would send Jolie messages threatening to take his own life if she didn't return. Jolie, on the other hand, was moving on. She was in a much healthier relationship and had a good social life. Lauren was becoming increasingly desperate and could not take seeing her happy. He decided the best way to deal with it would be to do the unthinkable. He lured Jolie into a trap he called her, and said he had planned a hiking trip for the two of them as friends, so they could mend their relationship and move on separately. Jolie, being the kind person she was, agreed. The two of them went on their hike, and Lauren kept documenting everything on Instagram. He took multiple pictures of her and posted them with captions that seemed wholesome at the time, but in hindsight were subtly disturbing. His second to last picture was of Jolie standing near the edge of a cliff, holding his dog. The caption read, "Oh, just enjoying the view." The final picture showed Jolie with her back to him, taking her own picture of the scenic landscape. That was the last time anyone ever saw her, right after posting it. Lauren took out a gunshot Jolie multiple times and pushed her body off the cliff into the base of the hiking trails. He then called 911 and turned himself in. Authorities found Jolie's body. She had multiple gunshot wounds. The case was already horrifying, but what makes it even worse is that both Lauren and Jolie's Instagram accounts are still up. Brittany Johnson, Lovely Peaches, 100. If there's one person on the internet whose existence makes absolutely no sense, it's Brittany Johnson, also known as Lovely Peaches. Coming across her account unexpectedly may make it seem normal. Frankly, it looks like an indie musician trying to make it big, but unfortunately, the things she's done on her social handles make every other disturbing Instagram account look tame in comparison. Her current Instagram goes by Lovely Peaches, pop singer, 100. Her entire online persona honestly had multiple lives at this point. Her accounts keep getting banned and then somehow popping right back up a few days later. While her content has changed over time, what she's done in the past can never be rebranded. It's deeply unsettling and borderline criminal. Lovely Peaches started out as a wannabe influencer and musician, but the content she posted was never about that. Things with her account went south really fast, and she began to grow a base of haters, but like they say, even bad publicity is publicity. She realized the thing she was getting attention for and ramped up her antics exponentially. She gained notoriety for posting the most unhinged videos possible, laughing about abusing animals, threatening people, and just generally being an absolute menace to the internet. There was even a time when she claimed to have sold her own daughter. Thankfully, this later came out to be false, but was nevertheless still an absolutely disgusting thing to say for attention. One of the worst things to come out of her Instagram was the animal abuse situation. She literally filmed herself harming a dog. She sprayed perfume in its eyes on camera and then casually admitted to killing it. People were rightfully outraged, and it actually led to her getting arrested. But even after all that, her Instagram still keeps coming back. Even though she's been banned from social media multiple times, there's always some account running under her name, either by her or someone impersonating her for clout. Currently, her accounts are more toned down compared to her past antics, but the damage has already been done. No matter how many bans she gets, the digital footprint is always there. Frankly, it's pretty hard to forget when someone's entire internet presence is built on being as disturbing as possible. Level 3. Bon skinny ARG or not? There are some themes that just take things too far, and that was exactly the case with Bon Skinny's Instagram and TikTok accounts. At first glance, Bon Skinny was just another dancer posting video online, but what set her apart and what made her so unsettling was her entire aesthetic. She always wore this spine-chilling mask with bright red hair, and the phrase "I like sweets" carved into it. It was weird, sure, but aside from that, her content was pretty harmless. It was just a compilation of standard dance videos, but that did not last, unfortunately. At some point, Bon Skinny moved in with a man known only as Mr. Guy, and that's when things completely spiraled. Her videos became a mix of erratic, unhinged content. Her usual dancing was now interlaced with disturbing footage of her screaming for help. "Let me out, I want" that it also included her going on angry rants or standing in genuinely horrifying settings. In some of them, she was in front of absolute filth, a complete mess in her living space. In others, she was near what looked like a puddle of blood. The more she posted, the less clear it became whether this was all some elaborate ARG or something very real. And yet the comments were just as bizarre. Some people played along, treating it like another internet mystery, while others were begging her to call the police. The split and reactions made the whole thing even more disturbing. Because if this wasn't an erg, then people were literally watching something horrific unfold in real time. To this day, there's no definitive answer to what was going on with Bon Skinny. Some believe it was all just an elaborate performance, while others think there was something way darker behind it. Over the course of the past few years, she's had multiple accounts pop up, each of them weirder than the previous, yet still maintaining their artsy undertone. This gives viewers hope that maybe everything she did was just part of her performance and was not Relilar. Not everyone deserves a platform. Lamar Cruz, a truck driver and rapper from South Carolina, is a prime example of someone who thrives on unhinged and problematic behavior for clout. And like most of these people, he has a habit of taking things too far. His Instagram handle, Lil M, is based on his rapper name. It might lead you to believe he posts about music, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Instead, his content is a disturbing mix of inappropriate clickbait and blatant criminal activity that somehow never landed him in jail for long. Among his worst offenses was a case that clearly showed the man had no problem with seriously harming others and in fact disturbingly thrived on it. Cruz lured a homeless woman into believing she could stay with him until she got back on her feet. Instead, he drove her to an abandoned house in the middle of nowhere and tricked her into thinking he was just grabbing his keys from the car. Then he simply drove off, leaving her stranded without a phone. Afterward, instead of taking accountability for his actions, Cruz later mocked her in his videos and insulted her for being homeless. Another disturbing incident involved him and a friend getting arrested at a Walmart for inappropriate behavior toward another person. Like the homeless woman case, they had lured her under the pretense of a double date, only to end up being highly inappropriate and disgusting with her. This did land him in jail for a while, but he received a suspiciously light sentence for it, and is now free. He continues to post on Instagram, but his content has shifted instead. Endangering others, he now seems more focused on reckless speeding and putting his own life at risk. Leslie Clark. Leslie Clark is an Instagram and TikTok influencer who first gained traction for her bold but otherwise harmless online persona. But what started as standard internet antics, like most of her peers, spiraled into something much worse before her accounts were banned. Clark had a considerable internet presence which unsurprisingly became a cesspool of controversy, racism, homophobia, transphobia, and just about every other kind of offensive behavior you can think of. She was widely notorious for being a rude and problematic person who had no problem using slurs and making disgusting remarks about other people despite being called out repeatedly by her followers and friends. She doubled down on everything and made it her personality. But here's where things get worse. Clark was definitely a menace on the internet. But she wasn't actively hurting people until she did. She had a pattern of inappropriate interactions with younger people, would cross lines that should never be crossed. She would engage with people in the most unsettling ways and make comments that were way out of line, while she aimed to present herself as real. All her behavior did for her was make her look like a criminal. Surprisingly, the influencer also dabbled in a bit of scamming. She'd spin up the most irrational SOB stories about herself and her family, and would essentially just beg her followers to give her money. The sad part is that she managed to scam quite a lot of people because of her strangely convincing dramatic tales. Yet, despite all of this, she's still active online, still gaining followers, and still existing among regular people, like nothing ever happened. Level 4. Celeste Mano. Celeste Imano's Instagram wasn't of an influencer or a famous person. It was like any normal one with a mix of happy moments, selfies, and memories. But even something, this harmless and wholesome, ended up a cruel fate. Celeste had a stalker, and her Instagram essentially became a channel for that stalker to manipulate and torment her. Her story is as tragic as social media crimes go. She worked at a call center and had briefly interacted with a colleague. The interaction extremely fleeting, and she probably didn't even remember the guy, but for the man, it was a source of his new obsession. He began to fixate on Celeste and spiraled into an obsession that went on for over a year. He sent her countless unwanted messages and tried to reach her in any way he could when she had enough and blocked him. He started making different accounts to get in contact with her. Things took a horrific turn when Celeste posted a picture with her boyfriend. That was the moment everything completely went off the rails. Her stalker, like so many others in this video, was unable to handle that and took it as some kind of breaking point. He broke into her home by smashing her bedroom window and attacked her while she was sleeping. Celeste never got the chance to fight back. Even after everything, her Instagram is still up, but it's private, it's frozen in time, and serves as a tragic reminder of a life that should never have been taken. On the other hand, the stalker is now in jail. Unfortunately, that doesn't undo the damage he's done to not only Celeste's family, but the entire framework of the internet. Her has since been fighting for stricter laws against stalking and has been pushing for real consequences. But on paper, Celeste basically did everything right. She blocked him, ignored him, and tried to move on, but still lost her life tragically. Her case is just another example of how Instagram, a place meant for connection, can also become a breeding ground for the most heinous of crimes. Kat Torres. Kat Torres was one of those influencers who just looked like she had her life together. It was so dreamy and likable that she not only managed to fool her fans, but lured some of them into trafficking. Torres was a Brazilian model, a so-called spiritual guide, and an Instagram personality with a massive following. Her posts were all about wellness and enlightenment. She would show off her picture-perfect lifestyle in hopes of enticing her victims to follow in her footprints. If you scrolled through her feed far enough, you'd see dreamy travel photos and vague captions that screamed red flags, and similar to what we've seen way too many times. Instagram perfection is often just a front for something much, much darker. In Kate's case, that something was horrific. Human trafficking. Torres was found selling dreams to young women from Brazil with promises of a better life in the U.S. She presented herself as a mentor and example, and assured that she would help women build their own brand. Just like she did, she showed them dreams of financial freedom, glamour, and a fancy model life. In reality, they were being manipulated, exploited, and threatened into basically a permanent form of exploitation. And what makes it all even worse is that her Instagram was the primary tool for her recruitment, according to multiple victims who came out after Torres's arrest. She would sell her wellness program to her followers. Those who became way too enticed with her would then pay to have one-on-one sessions with her. That's where the manipulation would begin. She'd convince young troubled women to quit their entire lives and move with her to the U.S. When they did, she'd threaten them to pay her back or be killed. Sadly, these impressionable women were forced to be put in all sorts of situations just for financial gain, and Torres would basically pocket all their earnings. The manipulation and abuse would get increasingly violent to the point where these women wouldn't even be allowed to use the bathroom without Torres's permission. Eventually, everyone who had fallen victim to her started coming out with their stories, and Torres was finally arrested after years of financial and mental exploitation. She's now serving an 8-year sentence for her crimes. If Kat Torres proves anything, it's that you can't trust everything you see online in Instagram accounts. Like hers, remind us just how easy it is to hide anything behind a curated feed.